Sending out an SOS. Sending out an SOS. Sending. Okay. I figured I'd start something up kind of silly here, vaguely, mildly. But yeah, welcome everyone to Sea Monster Live. This is the 5th iteration. Keeping track. Although, granted, it hasn't been going on for that long. We're only at number 5. But at the same time, we are already at number 5. So that's nice. Anywho, just kind of waiting to kind of get everything prepped pretty much for the discussion. For those who don't know, we will be talking about the Kiryu duology of Godzilla films from the Millennium Era. The 2002 entry known as Godzilla against Mechagodzilla, and the 2003 entry, Godzilla Tokyo S.O.S. Hence the little reference I did at the very beginning. And basically, this is the only set of movies in the Millennium Era that share like any sort of like continuity in any meaningful way, with each other, as opposed to like just the original 1954 film. So, yeah, just kind of waiting for things to get going, get moving, and we'll get into discussion here. But just a bit of preamble, really, just to start it off a little bit. But yeah, like, so for those who don't know, I did post, I think last week, a let's just say like an update video, like a slight update video about what I got going on. I pretty much hinted that I would be doing the stream in place of a essay video for Godzilla Tokyo S.O.S. It was something that I was thinking about doing for some time, but I ultimately kind of elected, on my own pretty much, to kind of just do away with that, more or less, and just decide, you know what, I'm gonna do like a live stream about it. We'll just do like a little more of an open discussion, if you will, about that, as well as Godzilla against Mechagodzilla. So, yeah, that's kind of what we got going on here. So this stream will be the fruit of that change, if you will. It's good to hear. Water bottles. Yeah. Gotta stay hydrated during the stream, It's a hot day today. But, anywho. I guess I'll just do like a quick summary of my thoughts. Or, I don't know. I'll do a quick summary of my thoughts in a few minutes. Maybe just kind of, just kind of let it all hang out, I suppose. Wait for people to just come on, in case anyone comes on. And I'm posting my link in the StreamYard. Posting my StreamYard link into the chat. So if anyone wants to come on and have a bit of a discussion on these two movies, we can go ahead and do that. Yeah. And for those that don't know, I did join Zimzola's most recent stream, not the one that he's going to be hosting later tonight, but the one that he did a few nights ago, Sunday night, I think. And we actually did kind of talk a little bit about Tokyo S.O.S. Kind of went over that, and even a little bit of Godzilla against Mechagodzilla. Um, into some thoughts on that, but we'll get to that. We'll get to it. Um, yeah, I'm not expecting this stream to be too terribly long. Um, I will say, but who knows? We shall wait and see. Anything could happen. Okay, so I guess a little bit of an aside, just to kind of break things up a little bit. Like, what would be like a good sort of talking point that it has nothing to do with Godzilla against Mechagodzilla or Tokyo SOS, but rather just kind of something that want to get like at least 10 minutes in before I could get into it, get into either movie. You know, be like something to kind of pass the time. So okay, all right. I guess a good one would just start with that. Progress on my big epic Godzilla vs King Ghidorah essay video has been going pretty good so far. Uh, as far as like the editing, the did the audio, the recordings of it, the script was done. Then I did the audio, and now we're pretty much in the long, somewhat arduous, but all the more worthwhile process of putting it all together, like having it all come together into one big whole, one big chungus. So progress is going to be going well. I mean, I guess I could just scroll through like a Twitter a little bit. Oh, hello, Minecraft world. How are you doing? Link to the StreamYard is in chat. So if you want to hop on, we can talk Godzilla against Mechagodzilla or Tokyo S.O.S. or both. Either one or both, whichever one. So let me just and let me just kind of go through Twitter at least for a little bit, see if there's like anything real quick. I mean, I got everything set up, but just want to make sure. Just want to check. All right, let me check. Let me check. I'll probably be popping in every now and then. Okay. All right, that's cool. All right. So, let's see. Yeah, apparently there's been pictures out about the that new Superman suit for like that upcoming Superman Legacy movie for James Gunn's like DCU. I'm not gonna lie, it doesn't look all that great. Not really too impressed by it. Yeah. Well, I mean, if you ask me, the superhero genre is kind of on its way out at this point, but oh well. Hello, Thanatos. How you doing? Good to have you here, my fellow veteran, and discussing and deciphering all the issues with Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah back in the Heisei stream. It's kind of weird that GXK, the new Empire, like the Blu-ray copy of it, it's only the Blu-ray and digital code. Like, it makes me wonder. Like, I think just stopped doing the Blu-ray and DVD combo thing altogether. Like I know they kind of do it like in and out and all that, but it's really weird. Like I don't like that's kind of a thing. I mean, it's not like a huge deal or anything, but I'll be picking up the Blu-ray, at some point. But when it comes out in June 11th. Um, but it's just kind of weird. Yeah, the link in the StreamYard is in chat. So if anyone wants to hop on and talk Kiryu, we and more than welcome. Okay, I think this is a good time to sort of get into it. All right, so the Kiryu duology, I will say it's definitely one of the stronger sets of movies in the Millennium Era. Obviously, GMK is still the best. There's there's not even a question there. But yeah, like Godzilla against Mechagodzilla, pretty strong story, I would say, as far as like involving the character of Akane. She's a really good character. I definitely think that she is one of the strongest examples of a good human protagonist in a Godzilla movie. Um, definitely a pretty good story there. And as far as like, it definitely delivers on the action for sure, delivers on the goods. But it is definitely more of a character story. It's more story driven than action driven. Whereas Tokyo S.O.S is definitely more it seems like a lot more action driven. Which Tokyo S.O.S certainly delivers on the action. There's no doubt there, and I would say it's pretty damn satisfying action. I will for sure. But yeah, I will say Godzilla against Mechagodzilla is definitely is pretty much the better of the two in terms of writing quality. Because I mean, as we'll sort of progress, or at least assuming we will progress, the writing, there may be like some questionable stuff in Godzilla against Mechagodzilla in terms of like some bits of world building here and there, mainly involving the continuity to the 1954 film, which it had to like retcon in order to get to where we would have the Godzilla bones being used for Kiryu. So, yeah, I mean, I kind of understand the intent there to kind of they retcon it to where they could have the story, but it's not like it's the worst thing in the world, but it is noticeable. And hold on a sec. I think just to double check, because I have the movies here, so I can to kind of use as reference points. I think there may be something about like how the movie ties in with Mothra, like Mothra 1961. And that's obviously it's even before Tokyo S.O.S. They directly reference that movie in it, and uh, then you got the reference to War of the Gargantuas, like they show stock footage of Gyra tearing stuff up, but they pretty much like retell events about how Gyra was defeated by Maser Tech or something like that. Um, War of the Gargantuas, that doesn't happen. That's like like Gyra's defeated in a completely different way, and there is even a mention of Sandos. So we'll just have to chalk it up to them just using footage from that movie because it's kind of like the quick and easy way to showcase the events which they're narrating. Um, but yeah, and then you get to Tokyo SOS, which makes the more direct connection to Mothra, the '61 film, and then because you got like a Shujo and his nephew, I think, um, who is the mechanic, and there's definitely some tad bit things there to go over. Let me just hold on a sec. Hold on. All right. Here we go. Give me a second. Here we go. All right. All right. All right. I'm trying to pull up Godzilla against Mechagodzilla here because I watched it a couple nights ago and last night Tokyo SOS. So here we go. And yeah, of course, there's the obvious question of like where were the Shobajin, the twins, in the oh hello fresh match, how you doing? Yeah, and okay, where was I? Yeah, and there's the obvious thing with the Shobajins like showing up in Tokyo SOS to warn Shujo about the bones of the original Godzilla being used for Kiryu and how it's kind of wrong and that the bones need to be put back into the sea. And they show up in 2004, which is when Tokyo SOS takes place. It's very interesting that is the case when there were when like there's like a 5-year gap between when those bones were retrieved and when we get to Tokyo SOS. And Mechagodzilla was completed in 2003, which is when the main events of Godzilla against Mechagodzilla take place. So you had like 4 years where they're working on Mechagodzilla, and you had like a whole year between the events of GAM and Tokyo SOS, and they just don't really show up here. What are we discussing right now? We're kind of talking about like the continuity of the Godzilla against Mechagodzilla and Tokyo SOS. The point that I'm just going on right now is about the fairy, the twins, kind of showing up in Tokyo SOS, and there isn't really much of an explanation for why they never showed up in the previous film. If them and Mothra had such an issue with Japan using the bones of the original Godzilla to use for Kiryu. Um, and I'm even trying to pull up Godzilla against Mechagodzilla, but it's kind of gonna take it a bit here, bit time here, because there's like some, a little bit of continuity in there as well that I want to address. Mainly involving the original Mothra, or how those two movies sort of tie in with it. But all right, just pulling it up. All right. Okay, let's see. All right. And you're basically talking yourself on this, yes. Pretty much, or whoever happens to stumble upon this for posterity, pretty much, or anybody who may be watching this. Like you, good sir. Here we go. Oh, here we go. Okay, pulled up. All right, here we go. Second here. Ah. Is that Oh, no. Yeah, no, no, I get you. I get you. Yeah. Second. Hold on. Hold on. Just trying to find it. Let's find the clip. It's when the minister is talking. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Found it. The prime minister. All right, here we go. Let me try to see how this goes. Yeah. Okay. Uh, 45 years ago, first Godzilla appeared. It was Tokyo, and there Serizawa uses an oxygen destroyer. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, all right. So yeah, they kind of retcon the ending of 54 because the bones appeared because Godzilla's reduced to bones by the oxygen destroyer, and then and in fact the movie even kind of showed it disappeared a little bit, but then next thing you know, like following it, the bones are like shown to still be around. Again, I know that they want to have it, they want to have the plot sort of happen, but it's kind of a thing to kind of note a little bit, especially if it's. But anyways, we'll keep it going. Here we go. Just yeah, they keep getting invaded by other monsters like Mothra. Here we go. Okay. Okay, all right. So I just kind of was playing through that, so I don't know if anyone was able to catch that, but basically they went over like in Godzilla against Mechagodzilla, you have like this sort of scene of exposition where they establish like that Japan is like being attacked by monsters, not just since 1954, and even before the disintegration, the book 1954 bones look different. Um, that's kind of like in like between the original film and Godzilla against Mechagodzilla, like you got like the practical effects with the bones in 54 before they disappear, and then you got the CGI model that's used for Godzilla against Mechagodzilla. And they definitely look pretty different. I didn't even think about that, but good point. Yeah. So since 1954, they stepped, after they retrieved the bones, or not, oh no, they didn't retrieve the bones. Okay, sorry. Then you had Mothra show up, and they show footage from the original Mothra from 1961, and they pretty much established that they destroyed Mothra, which does not line up with Tokyo S.O.S. whatsoever when that movie is meant to establish that it's supposed to be a continuation of sorts from the original Mothra. Where in the original Mothra, Mothra was never destroyed. She pretty much was able to return home after the Shobijin were brought back to her. So that's That's it's a big error on Tokyo S.O.S's part, right there. So yeah, that's lovely. Yeah, you gotta love huge gaps in continuity there. Yeah, that's fun. But yeah, so anywho, we pretty much got that. Wanted to get that out of the way. And yeah, and then there's like that vial of Godzilla DNA that was said to have been retrieved in March 11th, 2003. Now, if we could actually, if I could pull the movie up again, I think there might even be a date um, shown, when that takes place during the opening scene for Godzilla against Mechagodzilla. Um, Even though it is just a design change, it's pretty annoying since you can't hand wave a corpse with healing mutation. Yeah, yeah, that's kind of a thing. Yeah, it pretty much is. That is true. That is true. Um, Anyways, and pretty much Godzilla against Mechagodzilla pretty much established that there wasn't really a Godzilla attack since 1954. There were kaiju that showed up like Mothra and Gyra, but they didn't say anything about another Godzilla showing up until 1999, which is basically the opening scene of Godzilla against Mechagodzilla. So we might actually be able to pull the date. Let's see if there's a date here, just so we can. Give me a second. Scrolling through the movie here. See where it is. Yep, yeah. Hold on, I'll get to this comment here. I need to find. I'm trying to find something in Godzilla against Mechagodzilla, just the lineup. So, give me a second. Just got to let it play out on mute here. Just wait. Okay, 1999 AD. So, as Zimzilla said in his the stream that I was on with him a couple of nights ago, what his streams, that there was like an error about how the original Godzilla, how Godzilla and the Godzilla that we see in this duology showed up like in 1999, or he pretty much said that he was like arrived like before like the point where he pretty much arrived before that. Well, actually, okay, hold on. Bear with me a second. My mind's like okay. So the post credit scene for Tokyo S.O.S. There is a vial of Godzilla DNA, and it's dated to be from March 11th, 1999. It does kind of line up a little bit, more or less, that they would, in terms of like, yes, his return was in 1999. Yeah, I actually pulled up the movie on my laptop just to verify it. Pretty much, it was 1999. 1999 AD. It didn't say it specifically March 11th, but like the vial was labeled as, but in Tokyo S.O.S. But yeah, it is. That does kind of more or less line up. It's just the question of like, were they able to retrieve like that some speck of Godzilla DNA like after that first attack, and they kept it in that vial the whole time? Like, I could say it could be possible. Yep, it was. Yeah, I'm just kind of going out of order. Was Mothra killed in the Tokyo S.O.S. backstory? I always thought that was the 1961 Mothra, just older. No, Mothra. No, Mothra pretty much in the 1961 movie was never killed at the end of that movie. But in Godzilla against Mechagodzilla, they established the backstory that she was killed, but then that the military did defeat her. The problem, though, is that once you get into Tokyo S.O.S, and it's meant to be like a direct sequel to Godzilla, to Mothra in 1961, because you got Shujo. And they specifically reference events in that movie that played out, and they even said that Mothra, that he, that the fairies were taken by some bad people, and Shujo and some people who he was with, got them back and stopped her. And he even shows pictures of like the symbol that they made on the ground to kind of quell Mothra, to kind of like tell her to chill out, pretty much, and say like, "Hey, here's your twins." So that just leaves the question, like, if Tokyo SOS is supposed to be a sequel to Godzilla against Mechagodzilla, then then it would have to like acknowledge like the Tokyo SOS pretty much shouldn't have tried to tie so explicitly to Mothra 61. If Godzilla against Mech or GAM Godzilla against Mechagodzilla established that Mothra was killed by the military in 61. So yeah, that's so I think, and as far as like whether or not that, yeah, it's so yeah, like the Mothra, according to Godzilla against Mechagodzilla's backstory, Mothra was killed, but then Tokyo SOS like retconned it to where it's more in line with the original Mothra's events, where Mothra lives to the end of that movie. And I don't think they ever mentioned Mothra being defeated in GXM. They did actually. They basically said we destroyed her, and that they pretty much, so yeah. Yeah, it's kind of fun to kind of go through some of this like continuity stuff. It's almost like it kind of reminds me of like the Fox X-Men movies at a certain extent, where even like some of the best ones have some have like points where they sort of contradict the continuity of others when they're supposed to be like kind of more, they're supposed to more or less fit together, right? Like for instance, like you guys know how in X-Men: The Last Stand, there was like a very minor character who was like almost background named Bolivar Task, not Bolivar Task, Bolivar Trask, the guy who would go on to create the Sentinels. Um, but and let's just say in Days of Future Past, he's he appears again, but he's played by Peter Dinklage, even though in X-Men: The Last Stand, he's played by an actor who looks nothing like Peter Dinklage, like whatsoever. So, I mean, but that's kind of minor. You could say that's pretty minor in comparison. To be fair, but a more significant example would be how confusing it is for Jean Grey to use what is essentially the Phoenix Force at the end of X-Men Apocalypse to defeat Apocalypse, only to then later on have Dark Phoenix the movie come in, and she pretty much just has the Phoenix Force, or she gets it, as if she didn't already have it. It's weird. They just said the weapons used evolved into the Maser cannons IRC. Actor changes are a constant in superhero movies, though, I would say. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so all right, so let's kind of get into. All right, so let's try to move into the next thing there, um, just so we can kind of move things along a little bit. So yeah, Akane, really good character in Godzilla against Mechagodzilla. Um, having she pretty much blames herself for essentially like getting her comrades killed by accident. The weapons quote was referring to Mothra and GAM. Well, yeah, even if the weapons were evolved, into the maser cannons that we would see, be like the ones being shot at in against Gyra, in that stock footage, in that backstory, the thing GAM still says that Mothra was killed when again Tokyo SOS direct is like it's meant to Tokyo SOS kind of like references the original Mothra as if it played out exactly like how it played out in that movie. So that's anyways. Let's I want to try to move things along here. um, so I would like yeah, pretty much I definitely agree with the references there. Like I definitely see them there. Like and I definitely because I even pulled the movie up there, but yeah, I pretty much more or less agree. Yeah, Akane, really good character. She has a really strong arc in the film of trying to find value within herself when you know when other because everyone else pretty much considers her to be valuable, pretty much. The way they just nuked Akane from the story was heinous. Yeah, Tokyo SOS really just major missed opportunity to to have Akane like complete her like just sort of conclude her story with Kiryu. Like you could say like the most like meaningful arc that she could have had already occurred in Godzilla against Mechagodzilla, where she finds value within herself, and so she kind of like puts her essentially metaphorically speaking, not literally, like puts her soul into Kiryu. Let's just say metaphorically. I want to make that clear, figuratively. But yeah, like it would have been really nice if instead of Shujo's nephew, the mechanic, being the guy that bids farewell to Kiryu at the end of Tokyo SOS, as they're both as him and Godzilla taken out to sea, it would have been real. It would have been so much better if it was Akane in that position. Yeah, I think that was a big mistake on Tokyo SOS's part. Um, like Shujo's nephew, like he's not a terrible protagonist. It's just like he's fine, but there's just not much to him. To be, if I'm being quite honest, the only like really the most notable thing about him is that he's the nephew of a character from like one of the older Showa movies, or at least one of the Showa movies that the Kiryu duology is even connected to. They're just yeah, like Shujo, Mr. Mechanic Shujo is just kind of he is not equal to Akane. Akane really should have been in Tokyo SOS as opposed to. And yeah, here's the thing for ST Bash. It's not that they nuked Akane from the story. They pretty much. It's almost like they fridged her, more or less. Like they're just like, oh hey, here's Akane, the main character from the previous film. We could do something pretty meaningful with her, but nope, let's just throw her in there. Bringing in Shujo from Mothra, but not the main character from the last film was absurd. Well, here's the thing. They did bring Akane in Tokyo SOS, but she only has a bit role. It's not even it's only slightly above a cameo, like her role in Tokyo SOS. It's bizarre. It is really bizarre. Yeah, they gave her a desk job. Well, they gave her a desk job in Godzilla against Mechagodzilla, but she built herself back up. She pretty much like kind of. They sent her off to do further training in the U.S. apparently, which was frankly worse. Yeah, yeah. It's like her getting a desk job in Godzilla against Mechagodzilla. While she's still the main character, it kind of makes sense because of the fact that she made a big mistake that cost the lives of a bunch of good men to the lives of Godzilla to Godzilla pretty much in that opening, and so she kind of like feels pretty much blames herself, but she tries to build, but she's like building herself back up to try to to try to move forward, but of course it's like not really like, but she definitely has ways to go because she doesn't even find value in herself. Like she finds more value in others than herself, and that's something that's been going on her whole life. Um, in which makes it all the more meaningful when you got characters, just being like, like Sarah, who has like this story involving her and her father losing her mother and her unborn brother. They're pretty much, it really adds a lot. I forgot. I thought they just sent her to another desk job. No, not really. I mean, why would they? Here's the thing: why would they send her to a desk job if she actually helped repel Godzilla? If she was like the key person to help Kiryu repel Godzilla out of Japan, out of Shinagawa, at the end of that first movie, like if anything, she probably would have gotten a medal for it, for like basically showing like if it bleeds, we can kill him. Considering that big gap in his Godzilla's chest at the end, it's pretty much have that. But yeah, like she might as well have gotten another desk job in Tokyo S.O.S. To be fair. Yeah, it was like a like as like a monster action movie, I consider Tokyo SOS to be pretty satisfying. Like the monster action is pretty top notch, I would say. And I would say Godzilla in Tokyo SOS has more character to him than in Godzilla against Mechagodzilla, because Godzilla against Mechagodzilla, um, he sorry. Yeah, U.S. training is much better. Yeah, but it's just that it takes her out of the movie entirely. It just writes her out of the movie entirely. So that's so you can take that as you will, I suppose. Probably a loss more than anything. um, but yeah, like as far as like characterization goes, Godzilla in the Kiryu duology, like there isn't much to really write home about him in Godzilla against Mechagodzilla. He's just like there isn't really like he just kind of shows up as just attacking Japan. There's not really much of a reason why he's doing it, and he's just kind of there to give, to essentially give Akane and an outlet to, to basically overcome her, her internal conflict and to combat, like to help herself, like how help herself be empowered to to go forward pretty much, and to give as well as to give Kiryu and the JSDF, big scary monster to fight. But meanwhile, Tokyo SOS comes along, and Godzilla is being drawn to where Mechagodzilla is, who is being rebuilt. And obviously, Godzilla showing up to Japan would be a bad thing because of the amount of destruction he causes, whether he's looking for Mechagodzilla or not. So yeah, Tokyo SOS, he has like a lot more characterization to him, and when he's like being when he's being dealt like serious injuries by Mechagodzilla, like when Mechagodzilla stabs him, pretty much, and like you actually kind of feel a little bit bad for Godzilla, pretty much. But yeah, and then Kiryu kind of like starts going rogue like he did in the first movie, and takes himself and Godzilla back out to sea because they basically both like belong together. So they belong. Or as like as the Frankenstein puts it at the Bride of Frankenstein, we belong dead. But not in a sense of like, oh, I'm taking you out with me. It's just more like, come on, brother, let's go home. It's a pretty interesting sort of thing going on there. Like there's pretty much some hints of like the sort of gray area in terms of using Mechagodzilla. Like obviously Japan needs something to defend themselves against something like Godzilla. That's for sure. But there is like this gray area of like what are the risk factor of it all. And obviously they didn't consider the risk factor of Godzilla against Mechagodzilla until Kiryu goes on to go rogue after it's being reminded uh, of who he once was, which was the 54 Goji. Rewind. Yes. Yeah. So yeah, and so it's not until like that scene where Kiryu goes rogue in GAM where they pretty much are like, oh yeah, 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 it's just there is definitely a risk factor, and they basically and I definitely appreciate that they're like it's a decision that to send Kiryu back out to fight Godzilla again. It's a decision that's not made lightly, pretty much in GAM, but they know it's like what other options do we have at this moment. And then Tokyo SOS kind of comes along and kind of tries to, further elaborate on this notion, continue that, but especially with the Shobijin. But yeah, again, there's the questionable continuity stuff there that that kind of gets in the way of that. So, anyways, you pretty much got that. Took the words right out of my mouth. So yeah, yeah. Anyways, as far as like, yeah, what else is there? This is it really say at least about Tokyo SOS. Yeah, I will say um, there's definitely some conveniences, here and there, and that during the second half. As great as the action is, pretty much in a kaiju spectacle type of way. Um, there's definitely some luck or bad luck happening. Like, oh, that's pretty. It's pretty convenient for the that the Shujo and his grandson, they basically are just a-okay from rubble, pretty much like that. I mean, I'm okay. Like that one, I don't have much of an issue with. I guess like it's entirely possible like that for something like that to happen. But the other thing with the bad luck factor is when like Godzilla like shoots at Kiryu as he's trying to get up, and it causes like that door that Shujo got into Kiryu from to repair him. Is like kind of burnt up, is like melted like shut, so he won't be able to get out. Yeah, that's a bit unlucky. Like Godzilla easily could have hit him anywhere else. That's hmm. So there's some of that, but it's not like a huge deal breaker or anything. But it's like what I just brought up there. But it is just kind of like, okay. I guess that happens. I mean, I guess it can happen, but you know, it is what it is, I suppose. I don't really have a whole lot else to say about that. um, what else? What else is there? I will say, um, like I was confused at first about why the Shobijin, were suddenly like there to help Chujo, but then I realized, oh yeah, they probably, the Mothra larva, the twin larvae, they probably, came in with them pretty much, kind of like how they came in with came to Chujo's place with their mother, pretty much. So, which makes sense. Sorry, did I miss anything? Not much. I will. I am just kind of pointing out right now that that I think that's kind of funny that you know it's like the Tokyo SOS actually does address like that the Shobijin actually do kind of need Mothra or even her children, her larvae, in order to be able to get around the places. Um, as opposed to something like Godzilla and Mothra, the Battle for Earth, they're just like, you know, like they just don't. They're just not with Mothra at all. They just like choose not to go with Mothra, even though it would be so advantageous of them. But it's funny, kind of interesting. I was kind of, I would say I was kind of confused about why how the Shobijin like were able to show up to Chujo, when he's like trying to find his backpack, to when he's like trying to make his way to get to Mechagodzilla. They lift the bag up, they telekinetically lift the bag up from the rubble, um, and then they sort of lead him. They kind of more or less lead him to get to his uncle and his nephew, as well as to find that bag and where to get to Mechagodzilla when the tunnel is like kind of buried in rubble, or blocked off. And then I realized, oh wait, yeah, they're with the Mothra larvae, so yeah, they can get around. It's like if they're near Mothra and they pretty much have a reason to go with Mothra or her children, they would stick with them, as opposed to Godzilla and Mothra, the Battle for Earth, where they had several opportunities to literally fly to Mothra before, at any point, especially, if it means getting back home. But no, they have to get kidnapped and potentially let Mothra kill a whole bunch of people in Godzilla and Mothra, the Battle for Earth, the Heisei film from the 90s. Um, I will say, I definitely appreciate that Tokyo SOS did not do the whole like rehashing of the plot from Mothra 61, where the fairies get kidnapped by some evil capitalists or something, and you pretty much got that. Um, it's a bit like Mothra versus Mothra, the Mothra versus Godzilla, the Battle for Earth. Mothra isn't like lawful good. Yeah, yeah. I mean, she definitely cares about like if her Shobijin are in trouble, like she definitely would try to go out of her way to rescue them. I'm just saying it's kind of funny that in Godzilla and Mothra: The Battle for Earth, the Cosmos, they just like I mean. I mean, we have to digress from from the Kiryu duology in order to get to this point, but basically, so for context, just to diverge from Tokyo SOS and all that, and just talk about Godzilla and Mothra and the Battle for Earth for a bit, just so we're clear. So the scene where out the she's always allegiant to something else. Okay. Yeah. So that scene in Godzilla and Mothra: The Battle for Earth where Mothra had just from her larva form, and she and Godzilla have her fight out at sea, like near Infant Island, pretty much. or Birth Island. No, I don't even think it's even Birth Island. I think it's just it may have been called Infant Island actually. Um, so she pretty much just gets out of that. Batra shows up. Then Godzilla and Batra fight each other. And it just kind of goes on from there. And Mothra is like heading back home, but the Cosmos, they're staying on the ship. The reason why the Cosmos even went with the people with Anto and the estranged the guy and his ex, the archaeologist and his ex-wife, pretty much. They're like the reason why the Cosmos were even going with them was Earth Island was after versus Mechagodzilla. Yeah, okay, all right, yeah, yep. Yeah. That's what I was about to say. It's like no, it's like no, it's not called no. Mothra's Island isn't called Birth Island. That's Godzilla's place. No, okay, but yeah, okay, where was I? All right, so Mothra is like swimming back to Infant Island, but the Cosmos aren't like going back to her or asking the humans to turn their boat around and drop them back off with Mothra. Cause if they did either of those things, and here's the thing, they'd have to fly there at the end of Godzilla and Mothra: The Battle for Earth. They're shown to be able to fly back to Mothra when they're at the airport at the end of that movie. So when they fly to her, it makes you wonder, if they didn't, why did they need to stay on the boat with those people when Mothra was head back home? Why didn't they ask to be taken back home, or why didn't they fly back to Mothra when she's in her larval form? Because if they did, then they wouldn't be kidnapped by greedy businessmen like in the original Mothra. And if they did fly back to Infant Island, or they got dropped off back at Infant Island, Mothra wouldn't feel the need to try to get back to them and kill people. So here's the thing. Mothra is here's the thing. Mothra, I get that Mothra isn't lawful good. I mean, I get that. I mean, Mothra's gonna do what she's gotta do. Like she's gotta to like restore balance to everything and harmony and what have you. And that would even include like rescuing her Cosmos. But here's the thing: if it's the Cosmos that are to blame here for this, because for all those deaths, because they could have easily, because Mothra didn't have to go to try to wreak havoc. Mothra didn't have to like trudge through Japan in order to get back to them if they flew back to her while they were like still out at sea. And Mothra is actually not too far away from where they were on the boat by the time she was swimming back. So they could have flown back, or they could have even have asked. Wasn't the Mothra larva always underwater? I don't think 6-foot tall people could enter waters near an actual kaiju. No, Mothra was actually like floating above water. No, Mothra doesn't go underwater pretty much. She's kind of like up and about. She's above, as they say in Good Times, she's keeping her head above water, And plus the Cosmos, they're not 6 foot tall. They're like 6 inches more so. But yeah, here's the thing: why didn't Mothra like even go to them? Pretty much, well, I mean, I could understand if they weren't singing for Mothra to come get them. But here's the thing: they actually know they probably should have. To be fair, they should have just told them, "Hey, take us back home." Damn it, to 6 inches. Yeah, that's okay. So yeah, case in point, Godzilla and Mothra Battle for Earth does not really hold up. But anyways, back to Kiryu, back to Godzilla and against Mechagodzilla and Tokyo S.O.S. Just want to diverge that discuss a little bit. Like, I just want to say, like, despite the questionable continuity to the original Mothra, Tokyo SOS still handled the Shobijin slash Cosmos slash Twin Fairies slash Mothra's twin girl, twin native girls, pretty much. Tokyo SOS handled them much better, or the lore behind them. I will say, despite the questionable continuity, they're handled better in Tokyo SOS. Yeah. Yeah. If you excuse me, I gotta get some water in me. Yeah, just drinking out of a water bottle here. There you go. Oh, by the way, did anyone like catch like Black Rudy's like video about his new video? Kind of talking about, can we discuss the fate of the Absolute Zero canon? Yeah, I mean, we can probably talk about anything that any if there's anything you want to bring about it, you can. Because I would say, yeah, it's kind of weird that they were, yeah, like the Absolute Zero cannon, yeah, that thing, it was like a beast and a half as far as like weapons go. And here's the thing. Well, I pretty much I understand that, concerning that, like, the end of Godzilla against Mechagodzilla takes place like in like mid 2003, and then you flash forward to Tokyo SOS, and the main battle takes place like in February or even March of 2004. Like, they probably didn't even have like even with all with that much time, considering that we are dealing with a giant mech pretty much, and and they have to like make technology with the technology that they have to deal with and try to implement it all. Like, it'd be understandable why they were like, I think in Tokyo SOS they said they couldn't find any synthetic diamonds, or they couldn't find a sufficient amount, and so they stuck with like the hyper maser cannon, which is like this huge maser cannon that's in Mechagodzilla's chest, that's in addition with the maser cannon that's in his mouth. I I don't really have much of an issue with the fact that the Absolute Zero. I don't really have much of an issue with the Absolute Zero canon not coming back in Tokyo SOS. You know, I'm really mixed on it. I get it was impractical, but just a big mazer is so lame. Um, well, I mean, considering, even though may seem somewhat impractical, like in a sci-fi story or a sci-fi based story, you can kind of make it to where, like, you can take something that may seem impractical in real life and sort of make it possible if you give it like a good explanation. Um, and from what I can recall, I would say Godzilla against Mechagodzilla does a fair job at that, at introducing the Absolute Zero. Um, so to have Tokyo SOS kind of establish that they weren't able to get the Absolute Zero ready, and the fact that it's only a matter of time before Godzilla like were to reappear, like they were kind of like on a they were basically on a ticking clock, and the clock isn't even all that clear because Godzilla could easily just show up any day. So having the triple mazer, the hyper mazer, it actually, like, I could accept that. I could excuse that. I will say they do at least make up for it by having Mechagodzilla's arm be like his right arm just kind of be modded into becoming like a blade, pretty much, that he could just stab Godzilla with. And I think he even drilled into him, like just kind of mess him up. And so he uses that the hyper maser, in order to blast into that, into that wound, basically just unload on him, on the Godzilla, and just really do some serious damage internally with him. Um, I pretty much get what you mean. That that may not be like the most satisfying thing, but I don't know. I don't really have that much of an issue with it. I'd say it checks out fine, for me at least. But yeah, there it is. So yeah. I mean, there's definitely some things in Tokyo SOS that are kind of disappointing, but not really. But it's not like it's so crippling. I would say. Um, Aside from the Akane being underutilized and kind of being fridged in Tokyo SOS, that's really the only like that's like probably the biggest blunder of the movie. Still, it's almost like they. It's interesting that they had it. Like at least she didn't like die in a helicopter crash, like a certain character did in a certain sequel to a certain beloved kaiju film, I mean, I don't know. Let's just say like Mako from Pacific Rim dying in a helicopter crash in Pacific Rim Uprising. Akane easily could have been Akane dying in that. Could have been so much worse. we could have had. That's the thing. It's like, yeah, it sucks that Akane had limited screen time, but if it was made today, or if it was made like years later, like 5 years ago, 5 or 6 years ago, that's probably what would have happened to her. Like, can you imagine that? Oh God, Pacific Rim Uprising is so stupid. Those are great points. However, it would be so cool if his chest unloaded a gun that shoots grenades or a rod from God launcher or something. Um, that actually could work. Like him using like after he makes like the big wound in Godzilla, then he just like shoots like a bunch of grenades into that wound, and then even just like puts a does that as well. Um, Yeah, I could see that. That could work. That could be neat. Yeah. But by the way, did anyone? I wonder. Makes me wonder if has anyone seen uh, Pacific Rim Uprising? Isn't there only one Pacific Rim movie? Oh yeah, that's right. Oh yeah, sorry folks. Sorry folks. I don't know what I was talking about there. There's no Pacific Rim Uprising here. Yeah, I made like a two-part essay video series on a movie that doesn't even exist. Yeah, don't worry, folks. There's only that one Pacific Rim movie, and I guess that show called Pacific Rim: The Black as well, and then that was on Netflix. Went on for 2 seasons. That one was all right. That one was fine. But yeah, there was no second Pacific Rim movie. Just want to let you know, folks. I gotta say, by the way, I recommend checking out Black Rudy's like video on his new video called "Why Godzilla's Awesome and Black Rudy is Cringe and Stupid." Like it's a parody channel. Oh my god, it's like it's good because I like it, and I like it because it's good. Yeah, that one's funny. That one's funny. And I love that it's just like a minute and a half long, like intro. That's just showing like, oh yeah, it's Godzilla, and it just got the Bear McCreary theme playing. It's like, uh, I mean, if you're saying Uprising never happened, the Black never happened either. Well, here's the thing: you could say the Black happened in like some alternate timeline or something. I don't know. They mentioned about or they're just saying. The only official film sequel to Pacific Rim is a movie called Atlantic Rim. Yeah, that's what maybe I was talking about. Maybe I was talking about that movie as opposed to Uprising. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, sorry that there's a bit of dead air here. If Atlantic Rim was tied to Pacific Rim, the world would literally end. It would either end either by like whatever happens in that movie, or it would end out of pure embarrassment as of how bad Atlantic Rim was. Yeah. Yeah. So if anyone wants to, anyways, again, StreamYard link in the chat for anyone who wants to hop on directly conversate. But no, oh, one sec. Really wanted in here. One sec. Whoa, hold on a minute. Okay. Here's the thing. I honestly thought, I pretty much honestly thought into like it was a while since I'd even seen Tokyo S.O.S. I mean, like I watched, watching it after, but I watched it last night, obviously for this, the prep pretty much, as well as Godzilla against Mechagodzilla. But I thought for a while, and this was probably because and I guess it's a testament to how kind of forgettable like Chujo the mechanic was in Tokyo SOS or is in Tokyo SOS. Like I honestly thought Hayama was the main protagonist in um, to- Tokyo SOS. Like the guy who had like the biggest issues with Akane being a pilot in Godzilla against Mechagodzilla. I honestly thought he was the protagonist. For a while, I thought so, but apparently not. Yeah, just reposting the StreamYard link in the chat. So, yeah, that's another thing. It would have been that would have been kind of interesting. Like he would be able to find, would kind of have something going on there in Tokyo West to West that continues after the events. Like, oh, dude, even better, him and Akane being like, in Tokyo SOS. Like Akane doesn't even like Akane wouldn't necessarily need to be a main character in Tokyo SOS, but she could at least be like a part of that battle. Yeah, yeah, that's oh well, yeah. So yeah, long story short, Godzilla against Mechagodzilla is definitely better in terms of writing. As I'm thinking of talking about it more, as I'm talking about it and Tokyo SOS more. Um, so there's that. Um, Not to say that either one of these movies are perfect, but Godzilla against Mechagodzilla is certainly better from a writing standpoint. As far as like in an action standpoint, both movies are really well done. Like technically, in the technical side of things, they're both pretty well done. But I could definitely see people enjoying Tokyo SOS more for the action. Sometimes it's difficult to tell which character in a story is the protag, even when the story is great. Um, I'm not exact. I'm not exactly. I guess it would have to be a case by case. I guess it would have to be a case by case basis, pretty much. It just kind of depends on like which one would like who has like the most focus that would in the story that would have because protagonist that would it also comes with the notion of it being the main character, the character who we're following for the majority of the story, if not all of it. That's usually what it is. It's a protagonist. Um, so that's usually at least that's the most clinical like way to describe a protagonist. But yeah, but yeah, I can definitely understand people enjoying Tokyo SOS more for the action that kind of happens in the second half with it being an all out monster battle royale, which is it's definitely very well done on the technical side of things and as far as it being the conclusion to the Kiryu duology, it is kind of a fitting conclusion. It's just that there's definitely details in the plot that I would change. I would have liked to have seen changed, to make because it could be so much better. Let's just say, um, again, switching Chojo out as the main character for Akane again. That would be a start. Um, so we pretty much got that. Or even just have maybe or even have like Chujo with her. I don't know. Like it there's avenues that could have been there's ways that it could have been done. We can make this better. It's not bad, foundationally speaking, but it can be improved. We have the technology. We don't need to do a full rewrite of everything. We just gotta rework to maybe just like rearrange some stuff and tweak some stuff here and there so that we can make it work so that we can get this. Whereas Godzilla against Mechagodzilla definitely has significantly less plot issues, for sure, and it has less contradictions in its world building and continuity because of it being like being the first of the duology. So it doesn't really have a whole lot like to like it had some baggage, but not like a lot. I will say it's really interesting that the filmmakers for Godzilla against Mechagodzilla and Tokyo S.O.S. a couple years prior did Godzilla versus Megaguirus. I gotta tell you, folks, Godzilla versus Megaguirus, and I did rewatch that recently as well. Kind of a marathon in the Godzilla franchise, as of late, and I'm pretty much on the Millennium Era right now. Got one more to go. Y'all know what that is, but yeah, Godzilla versus Megaguirus. Wow. Just to divert a little bit, but it does kind of relate back to the discussion of GAM and Tokyo SOS. But yeah, Godzilla versus Megaguirus. Wow, what a colossal piece of shit that movie was. Oh man, honestly, I genuinely could just devote like a whole stream talking about that movie, like going on for hours and hours about what is wrong with it. It's so bad. It like shockingly bad. Like I'm like I I pretty much have wondered, like, it's like, well, I don't quite hate this movie, but there's like a lot about it that I do kind of hate, for sure. Like, it's just like, well, I don't hate it overall, but there's definitely things about it that I hate. Because for one thing, we got what's the main character's name in versus Mechagodzilla? I'm just guy. I barely feel even bothered to even look up. I'll look up the name just Wikipedia help me out here. Unless someone edit out the name, because apparently you can do that on Wikipedia. Just edit information out and just replace it with false info. Let's see here. Yeah, the main character in Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla is an example of how not to have do a character who has been traumatized by Godzilla killing her comrades. That's pretty much what we got here. Akane, it makes sense. Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla has several similarities to the Kiryu genre, so you could say it's pretty much an early draft. Yeah, that could make that kind of makes a little bit of sense. An early draft that also apparently felt the need to include a whole nother monster entirely that, despite being the title villain of the film, is just kind of there. Yeah, and Godzilla vs. One thing I can say about Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla over the Kiryu duology is that while it does address events from the original Godzilla in 1954, it does retcon enough details from even that movie, so it's like its own. So it has its own timeline entirely, such as how the oxygen destroyer is never mentioned, nor was it used. Godzilla in versus Mechagodzilla was never established to have died whatsoever, and even in the 1954 flashback stuff, Godzilla pretty much doesn't even look like 54 Goji. He's basically Millennium Goji. So yeah, and it's basically has its own. It's in its own timeline. It's in its own bubble, but it's like bubble. This bubble is like full of diarrhea, pretty much in terms of writing. God, that's real because I mean, do I really need to explain to you folks why the concept of a machine like the Dimension Tide is a horrible idea? Like, even in the context of the world that is set up in Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla, is the creation of Mechagodzilla was honestly incredible, though. They managed to make the fucking Rodan fake out cool and liked. Yeah, I mean, like, Mechagodzilla is a cool creature in terms of design and all that. I would like to see Mechagodzilla show up in other stuff. Like, you could obviously reinvent her somewhat, so you don't have to include Dimension Tide that shoots black holes into the Earth's atmosphere and create wormholes. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Like, black hole. A gun that shoots black holes. Like, are you fucking kidding me? It's like, oh no, the oxygen destroyer never existed. Okay, cool. So we don't have to worry about those consequences of a weapon, destroying the world, right? No, it's like, oh, actually, we have this satellite that has a cannon that creates and shoots black holes, and it's all intended to just kill Godzilla. It's so, like, what? Like every single person on planet Earth in the timeline of that movie should have just been like, wait, Japan, you're doing what now? You're doing what? Like, no. Okay, no, absolutely not. No. This is never gonna happen. Just creating a black hole near Earth's orbit. I don't I don't even know. Like, just a small one is enough to destroy a planet. If we know how black holes work. I'm sorry. But yeah, Mechagodzilla is a cool kaiju. Definitely really neat ideas. I would like to see Mechagodzilla show up in other stuff. Pretty much. Heck, I mean, I could see Mechagodzilla or the Meganulon showing up in the MonsterVerse. I could see that happening. Just got to execute it well, though. I certainly hope that GXK2 or Godzilla Kong Part 3 doesn't introduce fucking black hole guns. I hope not. I really hope not. They better not. Oh God. Anyway. So yeah, Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla really bad. Godzilla against Mechagodzilla, a much better do-over of ideas that the writers and the filmmakers tried to do with Mechagodzilla. So, yeah, and plus, like, what was I even doing? Hold on a second. I was trying to look up the name of the protagonist in Mechagodzilla, and I couldn't even, and I didn't even pull it up. I just like X the article. Okay, hold on a sec. Okay, let's see. Who's the, because we all know Akane. We all know and love Akane pretty much because she's a good protagonist. Okay, let's see. Oh yeah, by the way, the G Graspers is a really dumb name in Megaguirus. I'll just tell you that. It's like, why are they called this? Why? Okay, let's see. Hold on. Good luck. I'm trying to find like the name of the protagonist in the plot summary for Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla in the on Wikipedia. It's like, oh my God, there's like 2 whole paragraphs that don't even mention her. It's like okay, yeah, they're telling us the backstory, the world building, pretty much, such as it is. Then they mention the Dimension Tide, and they talk about Megalodon, and they talk about the little kid. It's like, oh my God. Where's is there like no mention of her? Oh, here it is. Okay, here's her name. Okay, here's the main character's name in Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla. I had to go all the way down to the last paragraph on Wikipedia to find it. Okay, Major Kiriko Sugimori. Okay, Sugimori. Yeah. She's a Kane, but significantly worse. Okay, so like, God, here's a. I'll just tell you this right now. I highly recommend you folks to check out Omniviewers' video talking about Godzilla against Mechagodzilla and Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla. It actually goes into pretty good detail on why Godzilla against Mechagodzilla is as good as it is, and why Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla is such a shit show. Like, especially when it comes to the main protagonist. Yeah, I had to pull it up. Yeah. Akane Hydrox version. Akane shit edition. Akane, but lame and honestly just kind of a B word, to be honest. It's like, let me just tell you right now, Godzilla is like the best character in Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla by virtue of the fact that he's just doing what he's doing, and he's like really like, yeah, he's attacking Japan, but it's really because he's being drawn to power sources that are even made illegal, because they tracked him. Temu Akane. Like, huh. I didn't realize that her first name is the name is like the website is like that website that I keep seeing ads for on YouTube. I didn't even realize that. That's interesting. But yeah, okay. Yeah, I recommend watching Omniru's video because like the whole thing about how like a protagonist has like certain wants, like they want something, but what they actually need is dot dot dot. And that's the point of a good character arc. Like Sujimori wants to kill Godzilla to avenge her comrades, when what she needs is to just kind of direct her want for revenge against other individuals, or even to just let go of her revenge towards Godzilla. Especially considering that Godzilla is actually, if anything, he's cleaning up the G Grasper's own mess. Because Mechagodzilla wouldn't have shown up if they didn't shoot Dimension Giant. Okay. Bro just wants his Happy Meal. Exactly, yeah. Yes, Fresh Tea Match. Godzilla is just hungry. Like, he's just doing what animals do. He's just looking for food. And they're trying to kill him for it. And Godzilla even kills an invasive species that were brought in literally because they were trying to kill him. It's so stupid. Oh god, I seriously need to stop talking about Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla because that movie's like a rabbit hole of just all sorts of things that are just fucking wrong. Like how not to write a Godzilla movie or how not to write a kaiju movie. Debatably how not to write a movie in general. Which is shocking. It is so shocking that the same people who wrote Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla wrote Godzilla against Mechagodzilla. So it just like within 2 years, a 2 year or so difference between the releases of those two movies. It's quite fascinating. Really interesting stuff. Okay. I just had a notification there. Just checking that. Oh yeah. That was fun. Yeah, basically Akane, what she wants is to just kind of they adapted harder than Godzilla himself. Adapted. Not entirely sure what you mean by that. I don't know. Adapted harder than Godzilla himself. Oh, hold on. We got a guest coming in. Rusty Matt. Oh, here he is. There we go.
Hello.
Hello.
Is my mic on?
Yes.
Good. So I don't know. I just want to try and like see how this would turn out.
So far so good.
Honestly, I have. This feels weird, right? Like, I don't know why, but like the idea that I'm on like a semi-famous like on a YouTuber with like some amount of like like a large follower base. Like I'm on his stream, and it feels exciting. I actually have no idea what to talk about right now. So
That's okay. I kind of had that sort of similar feeling when I when I entered the Zimzilla's Dr. Skipper stream. So I get you.
um so I realized while you were talking about like Akane's character arc, I started to like get the sinking realization, like this is the arc. This is basically just the arc of Kaji from Usugly, like who learns to start putting himself before others.
Yeah.
So like if it continued, like imagine if it continued and it went down the path, and then I don't know, like Akane had. I have no idea what would be equivalent to the air poker moment, because that's like just so out of left field. And the only thing I can imagine is like her punching Godzilla in the face herself, because that is just it's insane.
Like her punching him single-handedly without Kiryu, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think maybe that's why they pretty much wrote her out of like the rest of Tokyo S.O.S, because they'd just be like, no, let's not do that.
It would just develop into like the most overpowered character in the world.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, if that was the case, and maybe in hindsight, it wasn't such a bad idea. Or, I don't know. But yeah.
Do you have anything you want to bring up?
God, I'm trying to think what's there to really what else is there to really bring up? I mean, even though we covered talked about two movies, well, three, because we talked about Mechagodzilla a little bit.
Let's cover this. Let's continue talking about Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, the G-Annihilation strategy.
Okay. All right. Here we go. Considering that the same filmmakers made.
Yeah. They really did adapt. It's inspiring because they just learned. They simply learned from their mistakes.
Yeah.
I think a part of it though is also that Godzilla vs. Megaguirus is like rushed.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, it was pretty rushed, I imagine.
Yeah, it's like they pretty much literally just started doing Godzilla movies because of the '98 film. They just finished 2000, and they wanted to get the momentum, maintained.
Yeah.
So maybe the writers were brought in to make another Godzilla movie, whether it would be connected to 2000 or not. Because you got that same Millennium Goji suit being reused from 2000 for Megaguirus. It's possible that it may have been intended to be that sequel, but maybe the writers actually had a really good idea. Hence why it would be done significantly better in GAM, but. It's possible that it was rushed, but the thing is that. I'm sorry.
Now that I've realized it, I was gonna put it in a comparison against Pacific Rim Uprising as which movie is more shit. It seems unfair. I mean, they had because there were 4 years for Uprising.
Yeah, 4 years.
Speaking of which, Atlantic Rim is much more impressive because Atlantic Rim was out of the Asylum movies, it is the fastest. It is the single number one fastest made immediately after the movie it's bootlegging.
Yeah.
Like 5 minutes, like Pacific Rim dropped. 5 minutes later, Atlantic Rim dropped. It was actually crazy.
Yeah, it's like they watched the trailer for Pacific Rim, or even like the first teaser over there, and just like, let's make that, but with like $5.
To be fair, there's also there's also a layer of it that's ripping off the Avengers, like a very definitive layer.
Yeah.
Because and that was like a year before. So
Yeah, it's like taking place in New York City, pretty much.
yeah, and there's also the final scene where they shoot the missile. There's like, actually, now I realize it. Atlantic Rim and Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla is a very fair comparison to make.
Yeah.
Because, like, I don't know how to explain it. And they were both made in a year from in like about a year, less than a year.
Yeah.
They're both really good as a concept, but the execution is so terrible that it just fails.
Yeah. The only difference, though, is that the filmmakers of Atlantic Rim, they didn't go on to make Pacific Rim, so that's a big difference there.
Yeah,
So that's one huge difference. The other, another huge difference. I pretty much had this like right. I had this right off the top of my head. I will say, to be fair, like rewatching Godzilla versus Megaguirus with that scene where the soldiers like shooting down like the Meganulon, basically, that are like coming out of their that are like metamorphosizing. Basically when they're dragonflies, more or less. There are times where
the Meganula form, like with an A instead of an ON, is what they're called.
Yeah. Honestly, I kind of get them mixed up. Like what was the larvae called, and what was the dragonfly form called? Pretty much, I kind of get those two mixed up. But yeah, Meganula. I will say, when those soldiers were shooting at the Meganula, some of that blue screen or green screen going on kind of looks like something out of a sci-fi original movie.
I mean, because it's made by the Asylum, which is basically sci-fi but worse.
I was talking about Godzilla.
Oh my god!
I was talking about Megaguirus.
My bad. I conflated.
That's okay. Yeah.
So
yeah.
The plots are really good on paper, though. I will not lie.
Yeah. Like I like the concept of Megaguirus, pretty much. Like you could have been handled a lot better, pretty much. Certainly, way better. I even said that.
The concept is basically they pull out a black hole. I mean, it depends on how you interpret it. There's two aspects to it, I guess. The first aspect is they pull out a black fucking hole against Godzilla, which is like so metal because it's Godzilla versus a black hole.
I'm sorry, I still can't get over that. It's like you have a machine that can literally create a black hole. Like I know that sci-fi concepts can be pretty fantastical, and I've even kind of said that mentioned this about the absolute zero cannon being feasible.
Most sci-fi concepts are in the far future. Godzilla vs. Megaguirus is
it's 1999 or 2001. Yeah, it's not even Yeah, not even that far into
There's
the future.
also, and then the black hole brings up Megaguirus, which, as I've established, it brings the Mega Nulon, which is an incredible idea.
Yeah.
And it's like they're literally resurrecting an opponent from the ancient past. Because 1956 was over 40 years before, versus Megaguirus.
Yeah.
It's so forgotten. But there's also, like, I don't know how to say it. So on the other corner, we have Atlantic Rim's plot. So, which is actually not that bad. Like, okay, no, the plot is terrible. It is the worst Asylum movie, which is impressive when it's an Asylum movie.
Yeah.
But the idea is pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's like any of these 3 color-coded robots. It's like really interesting. And they're fighting against, the guy, the thing that's name I forgot. Which, wait, let me search this up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like I've only watched like Atlantic Rim once, and it was like
Torture. Torture.
Torture.
Yeah, that's. I assume the experience is terrible.
Well, yeah, it was torture. But I was gonna mention that like it was like through like that second season of the Netflix Mystery Science Theater series, pretty much like like that revival. But yeah, it was torture. To be fair. You could refer to either the MST revival or Atlantic Rim, either one. You could like they're kind of 1-to-1 be torture. Sorry, folks, hot take. Yeah, what was
I'm looking for the main monsters title, which is like I don't believe it was called in universe.
Yeah, let me see. Let me try here. See if I can find anything. We got to solve this Da Vinci Code like riddle. Like, what are the monsters in Atlantic Rim called? Because I'm pretty sure they weren't called kaiju.
No, there was just one monster, I believe, like maybe 2.
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, I'm not really seeing a lot. But yeah, apparently they detonated a warhead on a monster in space, pretty much.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, the Avengers part of it.
Yeah. Yeah. You could also say that may have been like
the Atlantic Kaiju. The Atlantic Kaiju.
Atlantic Kaiju. Okay.
No. Atlantic Kaiju. One word.
Atlantic Kaiju.
Yes.
Oh,
that's the sequel monster. That's for the sequel. Oh no, I think that might be what they're all called.
Yeah.
Like,
wow.
Yeah, I mean, that's so out of nowhere. I mean, Pacific Rim didn't call their monsters Pacific Kaiju.
No, they just called them Kaiju.
Yeah, like normal writers.
Or even or come up with like more like kind of like more distinct names for various kaiju, like Otachi or Leatherback or Trespasser, Axe Head, Knife Head.
Please don't. Shit.
Hello? Hello? Just um. Okay. Okay. If you can. Okay. First, Madge, if you can. If you can type in the chat, or if you're able to, whatever's going on, just kind of let us know what's going on here. Um. Yeah, we'll just give him a bit. I have no idea what happened. Oh, he's gone. Okay, that's weird. Something must have happened. Yeah. And so yeah, whatever's going on, we'll stand by and just wait and see what happens. But yeah, Atlantic Kaiju. That's wow. That's actually what they were called, and it's supposed to be one word. It's very fascinating, very fascinating indeed. We'll all right, so we'll just so let's see what happens. Excuse me, I was having difficulties. Oh, that's fine. That's fine. We're right here. We're right here. Just you know, let me know when they're all sorted out, pretty much. Okay. Yeah, just give me a second. Oh, okay, he's back. All right, getting you on. Here we go.
Hello?
Yeah. Yep. Welcome back. On. Here we
Uh,
Okay.
so, yeah, back. 1 second. Let me see. So, yeah. Excuse me, I'm trying to get my computer to reach the right time.
Okay. Okay.
Right for now, I'll just be here.
All right.
So Atlantic Kaiju is the name for obviously the faction. So that's like saying we found the name of the Pacific Rim Kaiju and it was Kaiju.
Yeah.
I think it was like confirming like a word of God or something. So I'm gonna need to just TV tropes. Maybe that will have
Yeah.
trivia. Yes. In the trivia page on the trope word of God. Yes, I remember now. The monster's official name is, drumroll please, Dinosauria.
Oh my God! No. No way! Oh God!
Dinosauria.
That explains everything about why I don't even remember these monsters' names. Not just because the movie's
Yeah, I don't
shit.
think no, because it's under the word of God page, so it was never stated. It was never in the movie. They never said the monster's name once in the movie. But they asked official, like the writers and the official sources, what the monster's name was, and they said Dinosauria. So that's why it's on the trivia instead of just a basic.
Ah, wow, that's crazy.
It's that's so dumb.
That explains everything. Yeah, here we go. She's like, at least that one Pacific Rim movie that we try to pretend not to talk about, at least like came up with some names like
we need to
YJ
talk about
or
this. I know that it's a lot better because we just saw from Dinosauria. But I am not a fan of Pacific Rim's kaiju namings. Like sometimes they hit, sometimes they knock it out of the park, but a lot of times they miss because
just like the
yeah.
names of every kaiju
So
in the franchise.
I mean, it's the way they go around with it. It's so weird. Because if you look at like let's say the Pacific Rim page, the wiki page,
Right.
the weakest monsters are category 2s. Well, there's category 1s, but we never see any of them in the movie. We get the monsters called the Rippers in Uprising, and then the other monsters called also the Rippers in the Black. But those don't count, those are not. But the category 2s, so the weakest kaiju. Let's compare the names of one of the weakest and smallest kaiju to one of the biggest and strongest kaiju. So the one of the weakest is it's called Ragnarok. And so basically the Norse word for the apocalypse, which is cool. So the category 5 must have a super cool name. Get ready for this. Its name is Slatter.
Yeah.
Which is Scottish slang for whore. So they named the weakest kaiju in the series.
Yeah.
After the end of days. And they named the strongest kaiju in the series Dirty Bitch.
They called it a whore. That's so funny. Oh my god.
So
wow. That's just
like you feel bad. You feel bad for the monster.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Imagine it's like it's like the character, that one character from JoJo's. I think his dub name was Loser. Forgot what his original name was, but I like the dub name more. The localized name. So where the villains call him Loser, or what I think the original name was like something close to Idiot. And you know when Jotaro comes along, he calls him Loser. He says, "How do you know they call me that?" And then they just say, "I don't know. You just kind of look like a loser." That's what I assume happened to the kaiju, because I'm not calling her Slattern. And the other monsters also call her Dirty Bitch. Yeah, that's my favorite headcanon ever.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Yeah, that's a fair. Oh,
And there's a lot of Uprising. The names are just weird all around.
yeah.
Like I'm gonna bring like two worst examples, which are Raijin. And so Raijin, he's named after Raiju, which was one of the monsters in the original Pacific Rim. And that's because they kind of look similar. Like they both have the same head. They both have the same blue inner head within like an armor shell.
Yeah.
Thing is, when they called them that, And they called Raijin that they didn't know. So like it was just a complete coincidence. And then my less favorite one is my less favorite one is so in the beginning there's like an extremely giant monster that's like twice opening out of the new breach. It's like twice the size of the horde.
Yeah.
The And unfortunately, it gets killed because the breach kind of because the robots creating the breach kind of just fail halfway through.
Yeah.
So it kind of bisects it before it can do anything at all meaningful, which is a shame.
Yeah.
But what
They
happens?
basically. Yeah. The drones they get shut down and they pretty much blow
Yeah.
up.
But anyways, so this is like a cool kaiju who, unfortunately, that like shows off it's like a glimpse of the true power of the precursors. And they call this? They call them crab cakes.
What?
Crab cakes.
Crab.
Not even. I don't even think. No. The guys in the guys in like the Jaegers and stuff. They didn't call them that. They never called them that. They never called the monster anything. The writers decided to call them that. So it's like Dinosauria 2.0.
Yeah, that's
kind of a similar thing with Slattern, but there's a sequence in the novelization where they named it. So,
yeah.
There's overall, I guess. Do you? I have no idea what any of this has to do with the Kiryu saga. We went so off point.
Yeah, we definitely did.
I like how in Godzilla Neo they named it. There's an illusion when during the Mechanicon drawings by a description. They name it when they're talking about the possibility of the Mechanicon going rogue because it's made from the corpse of King Kong. They refer to this idea as the Kiryu effect, which is like it's pretty cool because at that time there's nothing before that. That was the first time it was unprecedented, and I like that idea a lot. Also, I mean, you know how there was Mecha King Ghidorah possessing Super Mechagodzilla in the manga? Like that never had the chance to happen because Super Mechagodzilla was scrapped in that universe, and Mecha King Ghidorah wasn't created until much later, and there's no time travel in it. So,
yeah.
Now that we're talking about Godzilla, this has to bring us back around to where we ended our last stream. So,
yeah.
Oh no. It's it's Bubilante time.
Okay.
And then he Bubilante all over the place. Yikes. Yeah.
Okay. Actually, to be fair, the last stream that I did before this one, it was a stream on that new movie Abigail, pretty much.
Oh yeah. I didn't get the chance to see that. I kind of forgot about that. Yeah. Like that's the last stream I was on, so
Yeah, that's for checking out. I recommend it.
But yeah, so I know you said you hadn't heard about Rulers of Earth, but have you at least heard about Matt Frank? Like
Um, what's that? I'm sorry. What was that? Kind of.
oh my god, yeah, doing the thing where I'm walking all over. This is so I know you haven't heard about Rulers of Earth, but you have heard about like Matt Frank, right?
Matt Frank. Yeah,
Yeah,
I heard about him. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So when I was talking about how the guy who drew Violante with human breasts and vagina, that was Matt Frank.
Oh my god! Yeah, wow! Wow! Wow!
Yeah, yeah,
Holy shit! Was there like a context for that? Was it like as like a joke,
oh
or
no,
was
he
it
did
like?
that. Yeah, because Godzilla Neo is essentially him drawing his Godzilla designs. So I imagine there's no in-universe context. He just decided. He just looked at Rose Biolante's pretty much perfect design in the original in Godzilla vs. Violante, and decided, you know what this needs? This needs a human. This needs human breasts and vaginas added to it, which is like exactly.
Oh god! Okay. Let me. Okay, here. Yeah, okay. You know what? I'm just gonna look at this for myself. Just using my laptop here. Let me see here. I'm not gonna be showing this here on the stream because because YouTube might flag this.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, yeah, it's like an outlier though. Godzilla Neo is like it is actually like pretty good at times. I'm not gonna say it's great because I mean obviously it's better. The art is great, as you'd expect. The story is good at times, but obviously there are like weird, goofy moments, like the design of Fubilante, and there's also King Caesar training Mecha King Caesar training Godzilla between the two Godzilla movies. It was like at the time that was not well received, right?
Right.
I thought it was pretty goofy. To be
Yeah.
fair though, he became like he became massively stronger between those two movies. And he's normally applied to be trained. So it is like an interesting. So I guess it is a decent plot hole explanation.
Yeah. Okay, I'm looking at this. Looking at what you just said when you're talking about biological tips.
Yes,
What the fuck is that?
it
What?
is. I
Oh my god.
you have to
Why?
realize that this series, the series you're looking at right now, is like one of the most influential things towards the Godzilla fandom, like of all time.
Oh god.
Like, I guess the influence is kind of worn off, but you could see it like back in those days. Pretty much everything was like a Godzilla. Like everything kind of owes itself to it.
Yeah.
It's not as much as the bridge. Like that one influence. Like the bridge is the reason we have anything in this fandom, and I kind of hate it for that. Like,
Yeah.
So but yeah. I think my least favorite decision for in Godzilla Neo is the treatment of King Ghidorah. It's the treatment of King Ghidorah, definitely. Like I get he was trying to hype up King Ghidorah at that point in time. Which, I mean, he did succeed.
Yeah.
But like the way it works is that after the invasion of Astro Monster,
Yeah.
after the events of that in the timeline, he just disappears and like never comes back. There's no destroy all monsters in this timeline. Like we don't get like a clone of him or anything.
That is weird.
And the thing is, destroy Invasion of Astro Monster and Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster were fused into one event in Godzilla Neo. So like he's not really Godzilla's arch nemesis at all.
He's just
kind
like
of,
a one-off at this
he
point.
just got what he has as much influence towards the story as like I don't know, like literally any other character, like Ebera, or he then turns as so yeah, he just does nothing until the final wars arc, where essentially it. I will say his comeback was pretty good. It was so basically he manipulates the controller of Planet X. You know, the one who's screaming about how humans are cattle and stuff like that.
Yeah.
He basically manipulates the controller of Planet X into being evil. Then when the controller of Planet X, who's called the Regulator, I believe, when he turns into Monster X, he resurrects from he returns from the shadows, absorbs Monster X's and his powers, and then becomes Kaiser Ghidorah, which is basically just Ghidorah but glowing in this timeline. So,
Interesting.
yeah, and then of course after he loses, he actually has a second return, which is as Mecha King Ghidorah, where essentially the humans basically command him to kill every single kaiju.
Wow.
Then stuff with Bagan happens, and like this is the root of his influence, and he gets melted by Super Godzilla, I believe. No, Super Godzilla was Super Godzilla was made for Final Wars. I'm pretty sure. I actually no. Sorry, I was misremembering things. Yes, he resurrected during the Bagan arc, and yeah, he pretty much just melts, and then he does like a final attack towards Bagan, who was being created by the Garogas who made Ghidorah in this timeline, and that's like where his story ends.
Huh.
I think it's also important he fought the Legend. In the past, he fought Gigamoth, which turned into Mothra and Batra, and it's implied he fought the legendary version of Godzilla, who was separate. But that's pretty much it. Yeah, that's his entire story, which is kind of lackluster, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. Yeah, it's.
I will say, and so I was gonna ask. So I know like what your general like top like top favorite things in the Godzilla out of the Godzilla movies are. And I've been meaning to ask you for this for a while. Like, what would be your favorite fan made things?
My favorite fan-made
Or what you
thing.
think is the best? Yes.
My favorite or best fan-made thing. To be fair, there's actually a lot of fan-made stuff out there, so it's kind of like trying to narrow it down
I
here.
am like in my mind, so it'll be fine.
I will say there's like one thing that's definitely kind of like a fan made thing that's like right that I can say right off the top of my head that I was pretty impressed by is kind of like how like that stop motion that's like a fan reversion of like the Hong Kong battle between Godzilla and Kong and GVK, pretty much. Where it's definitely like a slight reworking of it. It's from like a YouTuber. I think his name is Mr. Chen. I think it's a stop motion
There's a lot of
video.
stop motions.
Yeah, but this one is actually like the stop motion is like pretty dope how it's done. Like he uses the SH Monster Arts figures and essentially he just kind of like uses them has them like do like a fight that's like not too dissimilar to what we see in GBK, but it's like there's a lot that's like a really good recreation, but like like when Godzilla just like does like that slam with his tail into the streets, it looks fluent.
Yeah.
It was like ooh, like the way that I mean, like that stop motion video, the way they just recreated that, it's like really well done. It's not a 1-to-1 recreation of the Hong Kong fight. Pretty much, that round where that goes from when Kong gets out of the hole to when he does like that drops the axe on Godzilla's head doing that thing. It's not 1-to-1, but but it is definitely like an inspiration of it. But yeah, it's pretty well done. It's kind of interesting because Kong even just like when he doesn't have an axe, he even like goes on to like I guess he just like pulls out like a weapon from like a Transformer statue. That's like I guess it's supposed to be like in Canada like a statue of like a robot or something like Sentinel Prime from Dark of the Moon. It just uses his sword to just like deflect Godzilla's beam. It's kind of nuts, though. Pretty much, like it's something that like there we go.
I found the video. There's an ad playing right now. It's an ad for Crunchyroll. So just wait, just bear with me 1 second.
Okay.
1 second. Yeah. Yes, I. Oh. Let's see.
Yeah.
Looks like he kind of changes a couple of things because I kind of. It seems like after the round 2 ending, because I saw a segment of it where he's just like, where it's like when he does his gorilla thump and then like slides away. He's doing something different. I don't recall him doing this in the original. Yeah, this is like a different ending. So, props on him for that.
Yeah.
So that's your top one. Anything else?
Well, it's not exactly like any particular order. I'm trying to.
It doesn't have to be in a particular order.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm trying to think of what else. There. It's been a while, if I'm being honest. Let me think. Whoa.
That is I have no idea why she's doing that, but so go on.
Yeah, I'm trying to think off the top of my head, like anything else, if I'm being honest. There's like also like there's like another stop motion thing that was like done by someone else, I think. That was kind of more like a showcasing of it's like a showcasing of like the SH monster. It's like -1 Goji, pretty much.
Yeah, there's a lot of like animation tests like that. They mostly last like a couple of seconds.
Yeah, like that's to be honest, that's probably like the most I've seen like in recently. So yeah. Yeah, sorry, I'm like drawing up blanks right now.
Yeah. I just want to remind you that if you think it has to be some particular order, it doesn't. Because, like, for example, this is in the same discussion we have my top 3 of like all Godzilla media of 1954, Godzilla and Hell and -1. They're interchangeable. Like you could put them in any specific order, and I think it would work fine.
Yeah. As far as like the like Godzilla media, that's like if we just like go by official, but you could say it would be like top 3, like it just in general.
Yeah. That is my top 3 like official pieces of Godzilla media. So like anything created that's Toho licensed.
Toho or pretty much by a studio that was approved by Toho.
Yeah, they approved of it. So which is what I meant.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm not saying that 98 is my favorite, not by any stretch, but it would be on the table more or less because it was approved by Toho technically.
In top 3?
No, it's not in my top 3. No, I'm saying it's not in my top 3. I'm just saying it would be on the table pretty much since it was approved by Toho. Yes. Okay, but my top 3.
Godzilla Hell, which as I mentioned is in the top 3. That would be like pretty much the prime example. It's made by Americans and it's not a movie.
Yeah. Okay. So basically,
I still have it as like.
Yeah. All right. So my top 3, at least as far as like Godzilla movies go.
So you're not going outside. You're not going outside. You have to wait for Papa to come back. Sorry, I'm talking to the cat. Let's go on.
Okay, so yeah, top 3, no particular order. It would be Godzilla. It would be 54. It's kind of cliched, but King of the Monsters 2019 and -1. That's basically where they're at so far. There's some that would certainly get pretty close, but that I would certainly consider to be among the top 5, like GMK, for example.
Wait, which one do you consider pretty close?
GMK.
Yeah. But you said that like GMK, so I thought there was another one.
There's I use I said like GMK as like it's an example, pretty much.
Yeah.
Close. It might actually be like really close. It could be like number 4, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
So, either that or 2014. So,
King of the Monsters is interesting. Is there any particular reason you have it so high? Yes, I know you can bring up something like this. For me having Godzilla and Hell as my top 3 in my top 3.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
I can explain my reasonings. Like I can discuss the themes about it if you want. But I want to hear why you have King of the Monsters in your top three, because I know a lot of people have King of the Monsters in their top three. So go on.
okay. All right. So, just in the best, like sort of like most concise way to summarize why it's on there. It really is. I would say it mainly has to do with that. I definitely think that the plot, and the and the characters, despite what many people would like to claim as the case, would like to claim otherwise, it's actually like really well done. Um, and it does like and not not only that, but also like, it gives them like the monsters themselves. They're treated not just as spectacle, but also as like just stuff as characters themselves, so like Godzilla and Ghidorah, while also maintaining like sort of like this larger than life
Yeah.
sort of sense of like where where like there's like the film really justifies why that these creatures would be called titans, because there's just there's something about them that's just like larger than anything, pretty much, even if they're not the biggest things that could potentially exist in the universe, perhaps, like obviously if we
Yeah,
were to
but
compare
they're
them to
large
like
enough, right? It's the
yeah.
feeling of scale.
Yeah, it's like I mean, it's not like we're not talking about like creatures like the size of Unicron or anything, but we're just talking about like, but they're kaiju
Yeah.
more still. And there's like a and you get a sense of like the reverence for these creatures, not just like in the canon of the universe, while also definitely recognizing like that their sheer power needs to be like like you can understand like both where you pretty much understand like each side like wanting to the side that wants to contain them, the side that wants to like bring them out so that they can restore balance, without really thinking much about the consequences, pretty much. And there's like reverence in the meta side of things in terms of like the respect that's shown for like the franchise as a whole in terms of the legacy of Godzilla, pretty much, and not to mention and plus the monster battles are just are really well done in the movie. So.
Yeah, when it's there, yes. When it's not being cut away.
well, well, that's
Yeah,
yeah, man. But yeah, just in the most
that's
yeah,
it.
but in a concise way, that's kind of more or less why I consider King of the Monsters to be pretty high up there as a favorite. As far now, obviously, since I said like it's not really in any particular order by what the movies I named off, because like they could just like I could definitely understand somebody saying that -1 is objectively better than King of the Monsters. Like I can certainly understand it, and I can even sort of agree in an extent, pretty much. So
Yeah. Um. So I guess this all leads into me giving my top three favorite fan made works,
uh,
which, well, not after discovering it, I've seen Man's Arrogance, which is on DeviantArt. I think that might be like the best fan made Godzilla work objectively. And I only see a small amount of it, but that amount is like more than enough. Um, like I've really um after it is basically would probably be, I'm not sure. Uh, maybe Abraxas. I know a lot. Like in terms of best, It definitely should be on the discussion table because it's basically that's like it's like a fan fiction. It's kind of set after the events of King of the Monsters. And it gets to retain a lot of the stuff you talked about it, though it's in book form.
Huh.
It definitely, a lot of it can feel like really corny at times, though. So,
yeah.
The plot of it is essentially, so Vivian Graham, Sally Hawkins' character in the MonsterVerse, after she dies, she basically gets eaten. She gets transferred to. She's in the head of. She's in the Ghidorah head that Charles Dance's character found. So
she's in the head. She's in Kevin's head.
Yes, they experiment on her, and she kind of fuses with Kevin to form Monster X. And pretty much the whole story is about one accepting this and learning to change as a person, and also to stopping the zombie abomination that they also created from the Kevin head. So, like, there are a lot of original kaiju. Actually, there's not a lot, but there are some original kaiju. A lot of them, because they kind of get characters of their own. The original kaiju would be this goat ape character, Thor, who is basically just he's essentially a stand-in for Monstrous Kong. There's also basically Manda, who is a child in this timeline. This is the Lord of Dragons, which is implied to be like biblically accurate Manda. Not biblically accurate. Lore accurate Manda.
Oh. Okay.
So they basically raise him. It's a pretty nice story. I like it. Though definitely there's apparently it spawned a shit ton of spin-offs to basically create its own universe. I've read some of the Tumblr posts. I don't particularly care for the overall universe. It's a pretty good fan.
Yeah.
There's Monster Island Buddies. I'm kind of partial towards Monster Island Buddies. And it's like Monster Island Buddies is basically a parody of the at the time Godzilla toy YouTube series channels. Though it ended up spawning more of them, a lot more.
Yeah.
Just doesn't hit as it stands though. It doesn't hit like it used to.
Yeah.
That I guess maybe.
Omnivore asks where the donuts at.
There's a lot of stuff. Oh my god.
The Omnivore just asked where the donuts at, so he's here.
Oh, shit. Wait. For real?
Kitty, calm down. Kitty cat. Yeah, I like cats.
Wait 1 moment. Oh my god!
This has become this whole Kiryu this whole Kiryu duology stream, has now just become like
It is
perhaps like a
gone
cat
off the
video.
rails.
It really had kind of a little bit.
Oh my god! I don't even know. I don't even know what. It's like what it is again.
I mean, it goes to show like how much we can cover, how much we can talk about, like in 2.5 hours.
Like, oh, damn! Oh my god! So should we go back on track?
Honestly, I'm not even sure, like, because I went
There's
over.
nothing left to cover, right?
Not really. No, it kind of. Not really. It's just like, yeah, like obviously between the two, I would say Godzilla against Mechagodzilla is the better written. Yeah, it's the better written.
You can say it's a lot better.
Yeah.
I guess something I haven't yet brought up is technically, according to the guidebook fuckery, according to the stuff they have in like the data books and stuff, if you use that information, they could have just made a Mecha King Ghidorah. I'm not joking. There's a King Ghidorah in this timeline. It's like they could have just made a robotic version of him. And it wouldn't have gone. It wouldn't have had the chance to go rogue because Kiryu was triggered by the screams of Godzilla. Ghidorah isn't Godzilla. So
right. I was the only thing I would say the only hitch on that potential thing is that even though Godzilla against Mechagodzilla with its backstory, even though it does reference Godzilla 54, Mothra 61, and War of the Gargantuas, like that doesn't really necessarily mean like all the other stuff is on the table.
No. I'm not saying Ghidorah the three-headed monster is canon. I'm saying that the data books, apparently, in them, Mothra and humanity, like, fought King Ghidorah. They fought a King Ghidorah. They also fought a Des Ghidorah, apparently. Which is, like, so out of nowhere. Final. Yes, I do mean.
Where was that in the movie?
It was not in the movies. It was in secondary material. So we're pulling a Kingdom Hearts, and we're just giving all of this backstory that is like that would seemingly be super important, and we're just relegating it to the equivalent of the Daisenshu. That's the game.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like,
I think the idea of Godzilla fighting Mothra, her larva, and two robotic Ghidorahs actually sounds pretty cool. So maybe we'll think for a good movie. Maybe one game.
Yeah, maybe potentially if someone were to make like a fan film version of like a third entry in the Kiryu timeline, perhaps. Yeah, I mean, I'm not really much. If I'm being honest, I'm not really much of a fan of using, secondary material, pretty much to try to.
They can definitely be weird, especially with certain translations are just bad. Like one of my favorites is one of these translations for like a Heisei guidebook, and it basically when it's talking about Godzilla. First off, reading them is like it's repeating itself constantly. One of my favorite lines is he has become Colby Prilla. I have no idea what that's translated from, but Godzilla turned into a Colby Prilla.
Huh.
Godzilla fans. Godzilla fans. When Godzilla said, when Godzilla roars, "This was truly our Godzilla," and then turns into a Colby Prilla. Oh my god.
Yeah.
There's also a line that I might actually use. It's not because I am disappointed. It's because I am disappointed. Which is like frankly incredible. I might get cool.
Yeah.
I have to use that like sometime. Watching to use that in like maybe in a future review. That should be a line. Like you should say, well, it's not because Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla disappointed me. It's because Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla disappointed me. You know?
Okay, so something along the lines of it's not that insert Godzilla movie or whatever name here disappointed me. It's because it disappointed me.
Yes.
Okay, so basically, just kind of say like, no, I'm not mad. I'm not mad at all. I'm actually kind of furious a little bit.
Yeah. There's also, which actually, it reminds me of this one line from Dawn of the Croods. It's like from the second episode. I'm not mad. Where basically like where he goes, I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed and disgusted and mad. It's like I've actually it's great dialogue.
Yeah. Yeah. So try to see if there's anything.
And let me see if there's a couple of other like funny things from. I believe most of these have gotten better translations.
Yeah.
Typically, the ones that look like they're on Discord are the better ones, whereas ones that have just been translated on the background are horrible. The power of Haze Air versus Battle Wiki. All right, let's go. Yes. There's one sequence when they're talking about gut. Yes. Here from this one specific scan. Right, this one seems like it's just gonna be good. These various colors are further complicated through the window glass of each material. Godzilla is the King Kong of America. And along with I think that's like it's meant to be the King Kong of Japan, but they just fucked it up.
Oh man.
Like from Japan instead of from America. Maybe that's what they were trying to say. There was, and along with the ineffable squiggles reminiscent of stars in the sky, you are the most beautiful thing Japan has to offer the world. This goes from Godzilla, the King Kong of America, to like flirting with me. What the hell? Godzilla bigger and stronger. Godzilla bigger and stronger. That was what I was trying to show in a miniature version of Godzilla. Be greater. That's the only part that people care about because it's consistency with the various different statements that Godzilla is stronger than Showa.
Yeah.
It's not. Yes. So want me to read more?
Hmm?
Want me to read more of these?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
This one, again, it's another one that is for 84 being above 54 in Showa again. The first Godzilla attacked Tokyo in 1951 and was killed by Dr. Serizawa's oxygen destroyer. The second Godzilla was a righteous monster that fought 5 different monsters and protected humans from aliens for 20 years from 1955 to 1970. No, it's just it's 197. That's pretty much it. The third generation, it's a pretty good timeline, just fudging up the dates. But it should. Yes, this is the count. Yeah, this is the one I've really been thinking about. The third Godzilla born in 1954 has the same ferocious nature as the first generation, but is much larger and more powerful than the first and second generations, and is still somewhere in the world after his battle with Viola, a biomonster created from his own cells. Okay, these are pretty good. Just sometimes with spelling errors, which makes sense when you're directly translating.
Yeah.
Godzilla, 35 years ago. Wait 1 second. 35 years ago, the first Godzilla emerged from Odo Island, ODO, in Tokyo. The first time Godzilla, enter. Calzan, enter. Chance. The second Godzilla was found fighting in Gyrus in China. The second Godzilla was found fighting in Gyrus in China and fought off Long, King Ghidorah, and the Kara in ways the same as the first generation. Maybe you repeated it twice. I think that's like a title. Yeah, it's probably a title. But like, it's funny to read these like just as a wall of text.
Yeah.
Let me see. There's one in English, so there's one. It's actually translated quite well. Godzilla has been there 4 species so far. The size seems to be different in the amount and strength of a lot of nuclear energy, which is like a bad translation, but you can understand it. You can understand. Like, it's pretty much obvious, right?
Yeah.
I think this is consistent because it implies Junior is weaker than Showa when he's actually like a lot stronger. And kind of gets tossed out. Anyways. Oh god. The origin of Kiminero. Godzilla. It's overflowing. It's a big deal, and it's a big deal from all the way up to 3. It's the birthplace of Godzilla. Godzilla. It's actually cooking. This is the birthplace of Goji Ramen. This would make good rap. You think this would make good rap lyrics?
It could be. Yeah.
Each time they're exposed, they gain more power and become stronger and more powerful. Yeah, that checks out. This is like the one people love. Godzilla becomes more powerful, stronger, and more dignified with each passing day. He's the king of Yakosha. He's the king of all evil. I thought the Yakosha part was like a myth, like one of the bad translations. As it turns out, that's actually like kind of cool, like kind of. So that was my bad. It's actually a really hard line. He's the king of all evil. That's crazy. I'm sure you've heard. Anyways, I'm sure you've heard of it. What did he have to do? The Long Ghidorah. I'm not sure what to do. I'm gonna do it. I'll be back in a few days. Enter Timonero. What the fuck is Timonero? You'll have to be careful not to get caught. You'll have to be careful not to hurt. The first Godzilla attacked Tokyo in 1981 and was killed by Dr. Serizawa's destroyer. I think a lot of these are from the guidebook standpoints. But some of these are just feel off.
Yeah.
We can actually figure out this one. God damn it.
Still there? Just I will give him a couple up. Okay, we'll give him a couple minutes. Yeah. It's kind of sound like there was a little bit of like a audio audiotisms going on there on his end. Yeah, I wanted to give him like technical. Yeah, that's okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So, well, we will just yeah. All right. So I guess we'll just give him a little bit of time here, in case he comes back on. Um, yep. Carry on. Okay. All right. So. All right. So. Yeah. I'm trying to. Yeah. I'm also trying to think what else is there to kind of go on at this point. Um, but I guess we will just sort of. Yeah. I don't know. Just kind of wait it out a little bit. Maybe give it like at least go for a few minutes, maybe. Um, yeah, probably. I think I'm probably gonna wrap up the stream in a few minutes. Make sure I get this out to like at least 3 hours, pretty much. Oh, hold on, sorry. There he is. A few minutes. Um, make sure I get this out to like a.
Hello again.
Yeah.
So I need to reopen my
Yeah.
I think you've actually kind of seen the best of it.
Ah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I want to try to like get this stream out to being like at least 3 hours long, so it'll be. So I mean, we already eclipsed the Abigail stream I did, which was only an hour and 45 minutes, because like there was like hardly anyone that even showed up for that. It was just me talking into the void, but yeah, but
for an hour and 45 minutes.
An hour and 45 minutes. Well, to be fair, I mean I spent like an hour talking about it, and I was just kind of just like talking about anything else, pretty much. It was like it was kind of like a spoiler discussion of the movie. Zipping out. It was like, or at least like just me kind of like talking about some stuff, some going into some details about it, and
all right. So after the oh no. this one's different. So after the king of all evil scan that tells us he gets stronger by the day. There's just some basic scans of superiority. There's one that doesn't really have a lot. This one, Godzilla's a champion, a monster that's been trying to take on King Ghidorah. He's been challenged by King Ghidorah, and he's built up a lot of energy to power up. He's even stronger now. The Secret of the Glass, the first time I've ever seen a Godzilla in the flesh. This is the first time I've ever seen it. This is the first time you've seen a monster. I'm sure you'll agree. I'm sure you'll be able to understand why. That's probably either referring to Godzilla's newfound strength, or the fact that Godzilla was chronologically the first appearance. There's one that says he's 200 times stronger, a pretty basic scan. There's one that's pretty normal and just has a postscript from the translator. This one's interesting for its world building implications. Because I don't know if I told you this, because this is the scan that confirms to us that Shindo's sub, where he has a nuclear bomb, he uses a nuclear bomb for no reason.
Yeah, exactly.
And now we know that this isn't just any nuclear bomb. This nuclear bomb is 200 times stronger than the bomb of Castle Bravo. Oh my god. That's more than...
Is this in like the original Japanese version, or is it like some kind of like, or is it a...
This is in the original, this is a Japanese guidebook, in case you're wondering.
Okay.
But yeah, you just have a bomb that, with a 3 gigaton payload, nuclear bomb.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Oh God, man. I mean, like I pretty much. So I did the recording of, for my Godzilla versus King Ghidorah essay video, pretty much, because the script was completed, and I did the recording. Okay. Should I keep going, or?
I'm fine.
Okay.
So, go on.
Okay, so yeah, I kind of said this early in the stream, but I said that I finished my my script for the Godzilla versus King Ghidorah video I'm working on, and I did the recording and all that. So I pretty much I feel like I already got that base of Shindo owning a nuclear sub pretty well covered. But yeah, like even if whether it's like the Japanese version or going off the guidebook or the English version, yeah, it's like we still have the problem with him owning a nuclear sub that makes Godzilla stronger just by the notion of it being a nuclear sub, pretty much.
Yes, and the fact is, that's
like you don't even need to know that. You don't even need to know like that it's supposed to be more powerful than the one from Castle Bravo. You should just be like, oh, it's still pretty powerful. It's like a nuclear sub.
Yeah, but you don't understand. I don't think you quite understand how big this potential bomb is. All right, because long that Shindo would be having in the movie, if it is 200 times, if it does make Godzilla 200 times stronger by being a 200 times bigger bomb, that would mean it is a payload that's 3 billion tons. Now, I want you to realize this. The Tsar bomb, extremely huge nuclear bomb, so powerful they could not use it for war. All right, they just hope that when the U.S. would see it, they would just automatically give up. That is 50 megatons. Without the uranium core being replaced with lead, it would be 100 million tons.
Yeah.
That is Shindo's sub is 30 times that.
Oh man. Oh wow.
That is 30 times stronger than the deadliest weapon IRL humans have ever conceived.
Yeah,
And
and
then
we
just
have
some random millionaire has it.
it's entirely possible that
every millionaire has a bomb like this.
yeah.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. Yeah, and it's also possible that he may have constructed this sub and gotten access to all those nukes, to those as powerful nukes, while the Cold War was still happening.
yeah, it's set in like the last year of the Cold War. So
like his country would be fucked beyond belief if if the Russians or even the U.S. found out about this. like World War III, there's like not even no debate. World War III, Shindo would have started that.
yeah,
like,
I mean,
yeah, it's like no matter which version of Godzilla versus King Ghidorah you go off on, that's what would happen. like,
wait, hold on. So you've been talking about like the American versus the Japanese versions. What is the
correct.
difference in the American versions? Like
The different. Okay. Okay. All right. So. Oh. Hey, just.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Your icon disappeared for a second there.
It's fine.
But that's good. It's all good. Really, to be honest, I'm not actually familiar with this, like Jeff, with like the guidebooks. Like where were they? Pretty much just
well, they got kind of found out in like about the late 2010s. So it kind of went a while without access for them, which was like the base Godzilla movies.
yeah, like unless like yeah, it's like I don't even know if like do we even know if like the original Japanese film versions are even like readily available? Because like
The original Japanese film versions of versus King Ghidorah, and they kind of are, right? Like, yeah. Hello. 1 second.
all right. Anyway.
Excuse me. So. Go on. Sorry.
Okay, all right. So I'm trying to, all right. So I'm trying to like look up, I'm trying to figure out what even the differences are between the American dub and the original Japanese versions of versus King
To
Ghidorah.
my knowledge, can I just bring this up? To my knowledge, the only change that I know of in the dub version is they mention that Godzilla has become more aggressive in the new timeline, which potentially implies they were from the Showa era. I've never liked the idea that it was from the Showa era because it would make the Futurians seem really dumb. Like, obviously, everyone thinks Godzilla's a hero in the show timeline.
Yeah, what? Yeah, the thing is though is like,
But I think
it's
that's the only change.
well, the thing is though is like, all right, let me look. All right, so I don't know if this is like a good place to pull it from, but I got like Reddit here, and it says like that since some of the Heisei films like Godzilla versus King Ghidorah like only came to the US straight to home video, there isn't really any as much of like heavy alterations from the original Japanese version and the English dubs as there was for the Showa era films. Because the Showa era films, like, when they were dubbed or like reworked, like let's just say Invasion of Astro Monster was called retitled as Monster Zero, or King Kong, or most infamous example, King Kong versus Godzilla, where like where most of the soundtrack for that movie was replaced with stock Universal Monsters music.
Can I just bring up the fact that your most iconic example is King Kong vs. Godzilla, and not Gigantus the Fire Monster?
Actually,
Yeah. Original.
yeah, that too. I get you. Yeah, that too. That too. To be fair, yeah, that one. Yeah, true. That is true. That is true. So basically, the Showa era was kind of like what basically experienced the radical changes from from translations and all that, or from Japanese to English to American. Like they kind of suffered that the most, whereas the Heisei era,
Yes.
at least like the ones that TriStar were able to get the rights to, they when they were straight released to home video in the U.S., there weren't really any significant changes to the dialogue. So Godzilla versus King Ghidorah.
That's pretty much accurate. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, the Heisei films, because that they were so inaccessible in the U.S. for such a long time, outside of like in the U.S., like when they did get that U.S. release, it seemed like they were at least like trying to stick as close to what was intended to like what they're translating from as possible. Yeah, and basically the only Godzilla movie after the show, since the Showa era, that would get, as one would say, the Henry Saperstein company or production sort of treatment, would be Godzilla 2000, and that's well after the Heisei era. So
yeah, pretty much.
So basically, there aren't really. So according to experts out there, the Heisei films, particularly in this case Godzilla versus King Ghidorah, there isn't really much in the way of like significant or meaningful differences in terms of like how the dub is translated in the original Japanese version.
Yeah, pretty much. Sounds about right.
So yeah.
Only Heisei dubs that change a lot, to my knowledge, are Return of Godzilla's English dub, Godzilla 1984, and Godzilla vs. Destroya's Tamil dub, Last Godzilla. So yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, well, Return of Godzilla, like even that one was edited, in the U.S. release, to include Raymond Burr, pretty much. But as far as Godzilla versus Destroyer, what was the difference again?
The Tamil dub, so not the English dub, but basically like the Indian dub for it. Was essentially had it had some meaningful differences. And by the way, these two dubs were the reasons I was talking about, like in the Heisei stream. I was discussing with for the ranking if this was the Japanese or was the dubs.
Oh, okay.
Basically, yeah.
Okay,
So
gotcha.
Destroyer's roars were changed. First off, significantly changed. I think there were some soundtrack changes, but I think there was really one significant scene where they kind of cut out. They pretty much almost entirely cut out the sequence where Godzilla Jr. is revived and it becomes a new Godzilla. So when
That is
Godzilla melts down and dies, that's where it ends. Like it just
why? Oh my god! Why? that makes no. That's lame. That's so lame. Why would they do that?
I think they were based on the roars, I think they were trying to be edgy.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. Yeah.
Like
Oh.
yeah.
Oh, and here's the thing. Another reason why. So another reason why the Heisei films, like the ones that TriStar Pictures or Sony, pretty much that they got the rights to, like Godzilla vs King Ghidorah or Godzilla vs Destroyer for the U.S. release. There's also because that the American version of Return of Godzilla, Godzilla 1985, it wasn't really a hit at the box office in the U.S. at all. So despite it being heavily advertised, so they were kind of discouraged from even releasing the rest of the Heisei era going forward. And I guess like once we got around into the 90s, the industry just sort of became different back then from when it was back in the 80s or the Showa era. So when it came time for the later Heisei films like King Ghidorah or Mothra Battle for Earth, or Destroyer, they just kind of, they kind of like went about it in a different way than as far as like the U.S. releases were done differently than before, than what was done for the Showa films and Return of Godzilla. So,
what about the U.S. releases of Godzilla against Mechagodzilla and Tokyo S.O.S?
Godzilla. Let me see. Those were also released by TriStar in the U.S. Same as versus Mechagodzilla and I think GMK as well. Those were also Sony and Final Wars. As far like Godzilla 2000 was also released by TriStar in the U.S., but it also had the Henry Saperstein production crew doing the U.S. like dubbing or re-editing as well for that one. But after that one flopped as well in the U.S., Godzilla 2000, I mean, then they just then all the rest of the Millennium Era films, they got released straight to DVD by Sony, and kind of, I guess, in the similar vein as the later Heisei films.
Yeah. To my knowledge, the Godzilla 2000 dub it's pretty positively received, right?
Yeah, I kind of heard that they even sort of like cut it down a little bit for just to kind of like, to smooth out, to kind of like improve the pacing at least from the Japanese version. I've only seen the American version of Godzilla 2000, so
is it good?
I think it's good. Yeah. I'm definitely curious to see what the Japanese version is like and whether or not, the cutting down actually helps pretty much. But I've heard it does. So, but we will see. I would definitely be sure to get back to y'all on that down the line.
Is there anything else?
No, that's it. I think we've even eclipsed. Yep, it looks like we just eclipsed the runtime of the Heisei stream. So right now.
So I guess that should about conclude it. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. Thank you very much for stopping in.
You're welcome. Goodbye.
Yeah. Bye. All right. And as far as your host, the Sea Monster, is concerned, once again, thank you all for stopping by. Stay tuned for more content to come, as well as like keeping an eye out for me potentially showing up on other streams like Zimzilla 99's stream. So at least making a guest appearance. And yeah, as far as like the next edition of Sea Monster Live, it will be, I am looking to be doing Godzilla 2014. We'll be discussing that one on May 16th, the day of its 10-year anniversary. It's gonna be fun. And it could be a general Monsterverse discussion stream as well, perhaps, for any further new insights going on with the Monsterverse in general, but it would specifically be about Godzilla 2014. But yeah, if anyone wants to stop by on there, then they are more than free to come out. All right. Yeah. Hope to see you there, man. But yeah, until then, or until my next appearance, the next thing coming up, I shall see you all later. Bye-bye. Bye-bye now. And by the way, yeah, one more thing. Godzilla against Mechagodzilla, better than Tokyo S.O.S. But Tokyo S.O.S. does have some fun stuff in there too. So anyways, just to remind you all what, what we were here for in the first place. Anyways, take care, folks. Bye.